What is the classification of an AFOL? Maybe you should ask my wife what the class. She definitely likes to call me a nerd. She gets quite a bit of enjoyment calling me a nerd, especially to other fellow Lego fans. She's like, "You guys are all nerds." So I don't know. I mean, it's like anything else, right? You get passionate about a thing. You're passionate about collecting stamps. You're passionate about hiking, like you're a sports enthusiast or whatever. So I think, Lego fans are just as nerdy about things they like as anybody else is nerdy about things they like. But I don't think there's a right or a wrong term. Geeks, nerds, AFOLs.
This little part here, I don't know if you can see it. I kind of cheated. That's a cut grill, a 1x2 grill, and I stuck the little sliver in there because it's not quite a 1x1 tile gap. These are like prefab, pieces in your King's Castle sets. The $100. Back before there was Nexo Nights and they actually had Castle. So I'll just use these little half pins, do a little bit of snot, and put a cheese on there. That's a ton of jargon in one sentence. Excuse me for those of you who don't know what that is, but little half slope, stud snot on top to kind of make it flush with the traditional brick. So that's kind of what I did myself, I guess, to answer your question there.
I'm not sure you can say they're just one thing. And just over the years, as we've done these interviews with builders in both in the U.S. and throughout the world, I feel like that it's such a diverse community that you can't really pin them down and say they're just nerds or geeks or fans or one thing. I think everyone kind of takes their own unique approach to the community and kind of gets their own thing out of Lego building, whatever that might be, whether it's just the enjoyment of sitting down with Brix or the enjoyment of going to shows and meeting people in person, whatever it might be. I think the main thing is that they're passionate about it, and that's kind of the one thing that everyone has in common. They really care about Lego and love the building experience. Beyond that, I think it's just a really diverse community. I'm not sure there's any one kind of moniker you could put on it.
Usually I'll start off the stream on this mode right here. Streaming for me is a great tool, especially for content creators, people who are looking to expand their audience. Because often, you go to these conventions or you see videos or pictures of a final product, but you don't really know what went into it. You don't get to see the techniques and see the build process. And I know as a builder personally, I like to see how everything comes together. I like to see the build as it progresses through, however many weeks, months, or even years for some people. But I would say by far, since I have started streaming, the best thing for me is building a sort of bond with the people who watch you. So it's super cool to not only build this stuff that I truly do enjoy and love building, but also building with an audience and just building with people who want to spend their time here is really, really cool.
A log is essentially a group of people or friends, maybe from different parts of the world or from a different country. They all share the same passion for Lego, whether that's a theme or it's just for Lego in general. They start doing a Lego user group, and they either have a common goal or passion for this specific hobby that is Lego building. Building together with friends is usually more casual. It's not that you're trying to go to a convention or exhibition, but usually, whereas in logs, you usually try to have projects lined up for the next convention or exhibition.
I don't really like using the term nerd. I feel that kind of like it like demeans the idea that someone's passionate about something. Like anyone can be passionate about anything. And I guess if you call that a nerd, then that's fine. But nerd typically has a negative connotation. I wouldn't really call anything of what we do to be negative insofar as like the community is very inclusive. We're doing something creative. A lot of the times it involves like community outreach. So people will do things like have free shows. Like my leg, for example, will go to our local children's hospital and we'll do displays there. And I mean, you meet so many kids who are going through a lot of things, and it can just make such a big difference for them to, you know, see a big Lego display in the hospital. So they really enjoy that. And we go to the Children's Museum as well and certain things like that.
Yeah, so kind of similar to AFOL, MOC is an acronym. And you'll notice in the Lego fan community, there is a lot of acronyms. And that can be kind of an interesting barrier to entry for new Lego fans, because they go, oh, these Lego fans are using these terms, MOC and AFOL and LUG, and I don't know what any of those mean. So, you know, MOC is an acronym, and it stands for My Own Creation. This is something that I have built using Lego elements that's come out of my mind. It's not a Lego set. It's not something I built with instructions. And it can be anything you want it to be. I mean, it doesn't have to be a huge, elaborate spaceship. It could be, you know, 5 pieces you put together and you go, look, it's a small, you know, boat or something. That's a MOC. It's something you've created out of your mind using the Lego system of elements.
Well, actually, Tina pulled me into Lego World in Bella Center, Copenhagen, and I didn't have Lego as a kid, so this was quite new for me. Yeah, this Lego community. I didn't know it existed, but I found out, and
Yeah.
then we just were hooked.
As we say, the rest is history.
For me, it was I've always done a lot of creative stuff, building woods, something like that. When I found out what the brick can do, I just saw the possibilities. You can't do the same with Barbie or Playmobil, for that matter.
It would also be a bit strange if you were playing with Barbie, I think.
Yeah. You don't know it all.
No, that's right. I don't want to know.
You get builder's block, much like people will get writer's block. And I think sometimes it's nice to be able to just step away from a MOC and just build a set and just kind of get your hands in it and get in the mood, and you don't necessarily have to worry about that specific MOC or some challenge. So it really depends on your mood, what your goal is, and I also think what your environment is. Sometimes when you're at a lug meeting or you're with your friends and you're all kind of bringing things over, there's a lot of conversations, or maybe you're watching a movie, and I think then it becomes hard to MOC. I mean, when my siblings and I will be on a FaceTime or a Google Hangout, sometimes it'll just be silent for 30 minutes because we're both like, what am I gonna do? You know, you're thinking a lot and you're really engaged in that one thing. You're not really multitasking.
Yes. So what do my friends and family think? And yeah, what does my wife think? That's very important. Of all of this. It's interesting. I can definitely sense you're a nerd. You know, you're a nerd. You know, what do you talk? Why does that color matter? Why does nougat matter? But you know, there's also a place of, you know, it's family, it's friends. So there's this love and respect for each other. That's what you do with friends and family. And but I would definitely, I think they understand that it's a nerdism. I try to tone it down. Around friends and family. Like, I won't sit there and go, honey, did you see the new medium posable legs on the Harry Potter minifigures? It doesn't come up in casual conversation, unfortunately. I save that for my Lego fellow fans. But it is very interesting when people will, like my friends and family will happen to hear conversation between me and another Lego fan because sometimes it's like Chinese. It's just like, what are you talking about?
It's pretty easy. I mean, especially when it comes to categorizing bricks and stuff like that by the studs, 1x2, 1x3, 2x4s. It's all pretty simple. I could definitely see how it's annoying and difficult at first, but it's pretty easy. And then when it comes to terms like, really, really specific techniques when it comes to snot and like all that kind of stuff, you definitely have to be in the community and like know what those terms are. But to me, at this point, it's just kind of like almost just like second nature when it comes to referring to stuff like that. So for me, it's easy, but I could totally see how for even someone who's not in it, or like my friends who aren't really into Lego, and they go, what is a 2x whatever, and I just explain it to them, and they're like, oh, okay, that's pretty easy, and then they get the gist of it. So it's one of those things where, if you just take a couple seconds to learn it, then you should be fine.
There's a lot I could say about it. Lately, I've become to gain a lot of different opinions and thought processes on the adult fan Lego community, but I think it's a great environment for people to connect, to be creative together, and to make lifelong friends from all over the world. It is a mostly positive environment. I think it's a very great environment to be in. Any environment or any hobby, you're going to have, little issues here and there.
The first year went to exhibition or annual exhibition, we were in the gender, the percentage. I was one of the few female. One of the few females, and it wasn't that fun. But afterwards, there are coming more women. More women are coming to our logs. I have met several women, and we even on Instagram we have a hashtag for women in toy photography, because in the beginning we couldn't find the women who were shooting Lego, so that's why somebody created that, and it's nice to have women in our community too. Today, one of my great friends is also a fan of Lego, so I'm happy that I have a female friend.
I think the AFOL community is one of the best fandoms, but it still has some of the issues of any fandoms, which is people drawing hard lines and assuming that everybody has to be a fan in the same way that you're a fan, and that's not the case. I've gone into a Lego store, and I love it when they have the little classic builds, and they've got the what is your creation thing, and kids will fill it out, and it's nice to see that. Like, I've seen a kid just put a little 1x4 brick, and they're just like, worm, 5 years old. That's right, that's my mock. Whatever, man. If you want to consider that a mock, you consider that a mock, I think as long as it's something that you have created from your own imagination and from I know there are people who are very, very strict about it, but it's really hard to always give credit in terms of specific techniques. I don't think in life any of us are completely independently creative 100%.
It's like between nervous to enter it because you're entering this new sort of world that you aren't really into, but then it's also very exciting because it's new. Again, it's like nervous and exciting for two reasons, and it's just like you're going into this new community and there's a lot of stuff you can learn and just have a lot of fun with. But then again, it's like showing up to your first convention or putting yourself out there for the very first time. It can get very nervous.
I don't understand. I think at the end of the day, we're all expressing ourselves artistically with Lego. I really don't think it matters what you're doing with it. I wouldn't like for us to become a community of people who are elitist in what we build over what someone else may decide to build. Everyone's passionate about something, and it may not always be what you're passionate about. And I think we should encourage each other to build to our passions.
But with any community, there's also, there's some negativity to it as well. Sometimes people can be maybe too critical in some way, whatever that means. Maybe it's too critical in the way you sort your collection, which could be something, petty. It's like, oh, I don't sort that way. I sort like this. And then maybe you take that the wrong way. You go, I don't like so-and-so because he said that I sort a bad way. And then these things kind of spiral out and they go in these places. And so it's not uncommon to hear certain people don't get along with another person for this reason. And I don't like that person for this reason. But I don't really think that's unique to the Lego fan community. I think that's just a fan community in general.
It's 2019, man. You can't just own up to elfism.
I'm okay. My grandparents were. I was raised with that tradition.
You were raised? Oh, is that so you're claiming your elfism is your tradition?
Yeah, it's not my fault I was raised this way.
So what's this castle? A commemoration of your elfish culture?
Yeah. Actually, do you have an extra minifigure?
I have a bunch.
I'm just gonna put one in the fire.
Oh, cool.
This is always so difficult to gauge. Like, you come to these big conventions and you see, videos online getting millions and millions of views, and you'd think like, oh, it's the biggest thing ever. But I think you'd be pretty hard pressed to come by an average person who really even knows what an AFOL is or understands that there are people who do this thing. I'd say it has kind of a cult following at the moment. A lot of people, I would say, know about Lego more casually, but like there's kind of this underlying hardcore community that goes all out and does the things that we do. So how can I even begin to answer this? Most of my day is spent thinking about Lego stars in some way. It has probably consumed my life. I try to be a productive person, do responsible things as well. But I mean, I think when you're passionate about something, it is what it is, you can't really help it. It's just like, I just sit there and just wander off thinking about Lego Star Wars. So, I guess I could describe it as my life at this point.
But, I guess it's different for everybody. They could maybe separate themselves a little bit more, where this is just a hobby and, they like to engage at their pace. Whether that's I only go to one meeting a year, or I only go to one fan event and I don't join a lug. But I think that the answer to that question is probably going to be different for everybody. For me, I think I've gone too far. I think I'm in the life category. I think Lego is probably my life.
It's almost like a double life, like a secret kind of life, You get your online Lego alter ego compared to how people normally see you. It's just a good way to escape from what I normally do, I guess.